Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Grapholistic podcast, the pod all about handwritings and characters analysis. I am your podcaster, S.Sulianah. I am also the founder and the graphologist for Grapholistic International. Grapholistic International is a company which I had started for over 20 years, specializing on personality development using the science of handwriting analysis. In the previous episode, I had covered the first trait that could hinder your self-esteem and development, that was self-criticism. In this episode, we will look into the trait fickle-mindedness. If you are wondering, why am I including fickle-mindedness in this list? How could it possibly influence your self-esteem? Okay, because this trait will make you question yourself and continuously changing your decisions. It shows how you are not confident with your perspectives, opinions, and even your own analysis. It tells you, and of course others, that you have no idea why you had even made that final decisions in the first place. Furthermore, this trait will not only lower the perception you have towards yourself and diminish the confidence to make decisions on your own, it will also affect your relationship with others. So when you constantly decide in an erratic way, it will be unpleasant and irritating to those people who are affected by your indecisions. Gradually, you will create distrust. Those people who you are dealing with will question not only your leadership, most importantly, your credibility and reliability. What could be the possible causes of someone being fickle-minded? To begin with, being fickle in decision-making can happen to you when you have no idea what is going on, or even if you do, you may not be sure about that subject, or could be that you do not have any experiences dealing in that kind of situations. Because you were not sure, you might be worried that what if your decision could affect the entire team in a wrong way, or even tear apart the whole plan. Those worries are valid. Like for instance, your team is trying to save someone from drowning. The first step probably is to dive straight to the lake which you had instructed. But then suddenly someone saw an alligator. In this case, clearly you need to change the decision by probably getting a boat or rope instead of diving straight ahead to help, right? Changing decision like in this case is understandable. The kind of fickle decisions which could make you doubt yourself or people to doubt your reliability is when you keep changing decisions solely relying on others' opinions. For instance, you have decided with your team to fix those ceiling lights in your office. As usual, you had instructed your staff to source for suppliers and purchase those lights. Once you received the delivered items 2 weeks later, out of nowhere, one of your friends who came to visit you in the office suggested you to change the lights to bulb instead of LED. You ended up listening to your friend's opinion, even though you had spent hours deciding with your staff that LED is less costly for your office monthly electricity. You listened to a friend who were not involved in the decision-making and has no idea what is going on. The point is you rely on external inputs, wasting time and money. You did not even stop to think about it yourself. From your position, you might not realize that your behavior is evident to your staff, clearly showing how you are not confident with your own decisions and could easily be influenced. It is worse if this is not your first time. I used to work with an owner of a company for over a decade who has this kind of decision-making process. It is understandable to change plans, but doing it very often, like 95 to 98% of the time, shows how we could not rely on his decisions when it comes to serious matters. Not only that, it will and had also affected the credibility of the second person who is taking in his decisions and passing it to the other teams. Because of the way he makes decisions, employees do not trust him. They may look like they listen, but in fact, once they get out of the meeting, they let it go. It was not a surprise when employees could not handle it anymore that they decided to leave. Being fickle in small decisions for your personal, one-person situations may not affect anyone, but if you are working in an organization, doesn't matter whether you lead a team or not, the way you think, respond, and when taking actions will impact you in a larger scale. So how can you make changes to the way you think? First and foremost, change it by being aware of your behavior and understand the way you think. You must first observe and analyze the way you usually respond to the surrounding and in different situations. How you will usually think, behave, and respond in circumstances like when you have more time to decide and when it is in urgency. Then learn to focus on the problem solving instead of relying on what if you don't listen to them, and you might lose them as your friend if you don't consider their opinions. Learn to build your own backbone. If you have a boss or employee or even your partner who you think might have this character in them, you can check their handwriting slants. In handwriting analysis, one of the handwriting traits that signifies inconsistent thinking, like being fickle, you can observe that the handwriting will have variation in slants. What are slants? Slants are the direction your letters are leaning to, either left, right, or upright. If the individual has inconstant decisions, their handwriting slants will be a mixture of two. The intensity will depend on the overall degree of slants and variations. Also be careful if the person has 3 of this at one time in their handwriting. The person could be manipulative too. As for the previous example of the employer who I used to work with, I observed that he has 2 slants mixed between left and upright most of the time, and sometimes the slants will be upright and towards the right. Mostly I notice is for his signature. Yes, this could also signify someone who is flexible, and in fact, he was in real life. However, if you have these traits, you have to learn how and when to use it at the right place and at the right time, because if not, the personality can turn to be an unpleasant behavior, not only to others, but it reflects your own disposition. Other than that, you can also observe other traits that could possibly exist on the handwriting that signifies indecisions, the variation in the size of the handwriting, that is the height, and or sometimes width, or it could be both of the middle zone. If it fluctuates intensively, it signifies that how he is not sure of himself. He might be okay now, but in a few minutes, he will not be. For instance, you might notice that your employer will be so into not getting involved with the same client who has not been paying the project's fees on time to your company. Because of that, your boss insisted he will not get involved with any new projects with them anymore. He will spend 4 hours talking to you about the client and how he will refuse their new project offer next time until they pay the outstanding. Then, 2 days later, your boss came to your room and tell you with excitement and pride that he just signed off a new agreement for a new project with the same client. Well, if this is how unpredictable your boss is, high possibility his handwriting sizes varies extremely. Another handwriting trait that will present in the person's handwriting is low self-esteem. I had covered in earlier episode how to identify self-esteem on the handwriting. One of the low self-esteem trait is the placement of the T-bar, which is below on the middle zone. T-bar is the horizontal line of your letter T. If the person writes with a low T-bar, he is likely to be insecure about himself. High chances is he will doubt any of his decisions and tend to rely on others' opinions. So he will end up listening to someone else's opinions instead of his, especially if he has the desire to get approval from them, mostly someone who sounds more authoritative. What you can do if you have this type of handwriting traits? As for variation in slants, learn to be conscious on how you write and the direction the slants is leaning to. If you tend to write upright, focus on upright. If right or left, do the same. Mixing slants slightly is okay, but if it's too much, it will be too extreme and will definitely affect your behavior and the way you think. Be self-aware with the way you write. This applies the same to the size of your handwriting. Be consistent, not rigid, just be consistent on your handwriting size. As for your tiba, write it above the middle zone. That is enough. The method of changing the handwriting is called graphotherapy. It will take some time to notice changes in your personality, but definitely with the correct technique, you will see the difference over time. On the other hand, if you see these handwriting traits on your employer, employees, or anyone, please do not immediately tell them to change their handwriting. For your info, I have never told anyone randomly to change their handwriting even though I had a glance on theirs. You can use it to learn about their characters and to confirm your own personal observations, and use those to adjust or adapt your own behavior towards them. Other than that, never ever tell them to change when they never ask you for your inputs. I am ending this episode here. For the next episode, I will go one step further to share the next trait that could lower your self-esteem, which is timidity. Before I end this episode, if you would like to get my recently published book titled Be Brave, Uncensored Motivational Quotes, the paperback is now available on our website, Amazon, and online bookstores. If you would like to purchase in bulk for your employees, clients, and students, it is now available on www.grapholistic.com. To get your handwriting analyzed for yourself, your partner, or your employees, or your interview candidates, visit our website at www.grapholistic.com to select the suitable packages ranging from basic to comprehensive, and also graphotherapy consultation. In the meantime, thank you for listening, stay safe, and have a great week ahead.